My wife cheated on me with her boss, then forged my signature to steal $300, $0 from our joint account, and now she's claiming I'm the one trying to ruin her. What do I do? I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. The craziest thing happened, and honestly, I still can't believe I didn't see it coming sooner. It all started a few months ago when I noticed Sarah, my wife, acting weird. She'd come home late more often, excuse it as work, but her phone was always glued to her hand, and she'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting. I brushed it off at first, telling myself she was just stressed or busy. But then little things started adding up, her perfume lingering longer than usual, her avoiding intimacy, and her lying about where she was going. One day I was cleaning up after dinner, as I often do, and I decided to check her phone. I don't normally do that, but something felt off. I found a series of texts, flirty, suggestive, and clearly not between her and a friend. I didn't need to read much before I saw her talking about a guy named Mark, her boss at the firm. They'd been meeting up after hours, confirming plans to get coffee, but the tone of their messages was intimate, more than just work talk. My stomach sank. I felt a cold sweat come over me. I saw enough to know she'd been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. I kept scrolling, and then I found pictures, screenshots of hotel receipts, messages about secret weekends, and even a photo of her in bed with him, half-dressed, with a caption about how he's the only one who truly makes her feel alive. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I loved, was cheating on me with her boss, and she was so brazen about it she'd sent me this kind of evidence herself. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My heart was pounding, and all I could think about was how she'd lied to my face every day. When I confronted her that night, her reaction was classic Sarah, defensive, bitchy, and full of lies. I asked her outright if she'd been sleeping with Mark, and she rolled her eyes, scoffing like I was crazy. "You're overreacting." She snapped. "It's none of your business. You're just jealous because I work hard and deserve some fun. Maybe if you weren't so damn insecure, you'd see I'm not cheating." She told me I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, and that I was trying to ruin her. That hurt more than anything. I'd always thought she was honest, loyal, a good wife. Turns out she was just good at hiding her lies. But what cut the deepest was the way she dismissed everything I felt. I wasn't some jealous idiot, I had proof. And her attitude, so cold, so dismissive, made it clear she didn't care about my feelings. She was more worried about saving her own skin than facing the truth. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once. How could she do this to me? How could she lie so effortlessly? I'd always believed we had something real, something worth fighting for. Now I wasn't so sure. I kept replaying that moment of discovery, the shock of seeing her betrayal laid bare, and I knew my life was about to change forever. After finding out about Sarah's affair, I was a mess. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and I kept staring at my phone, waiting for her to come home so I could ask her what the hell was going on. When she finally did, she acted like nothing had happened, like I was overreacting. She flounced through the door, smelling of perfume I didn't recognize, and threw herself onto the couch like she owned the place. I looked at her, my mind racing. I decided I had to confront her properly, not just with accusations but with facts. I pulled out the screenshots I'd saved, laid them on the table, and watched her face drain of color. For a moment she just stared at the evidence like she was trying to figure out how I'd found out. Then she scoffed again, her bitchy attitude surfacing instantly. "Seriously, you're freaking out over some messages. You're so insecure, it's pathetic," she snapped, crossing her arms. "Mark and I are just friends. You're jealous because I'm successful and he's the one who actually cares about me. You're just bitter because I don't need you anymore." That was her go-to: deny, lie, belittle. She started spinning stories, claiming I was paranoid, that I'd been snooping because I didn't trust her, and that I was trying to ruin her career. I couldn't believe her. I told her I wasn't going to stand for this anymore, that I deserved honesty. She rolled her eyes, claiming I was making everything up, that I was crazy for thinking she'd cheat on me. She even had the nerve to say she was only with Mark because I'd been neglecting her, that I was stupid if I thought she'd throw away her career for some meaningless affair. Her words cut deep. I felt like I was losing my mind, like everything I believed in was crumbling. I looked at her, so bitchy, so dismissive, and I realized I was done. I told her I was leaving, that I needed time to think. She just shrugged and said, "Good luck, idiot," as if I was the one ruining everything. That was the moment I knew I had to get out of this mess, but I also knew I couldn't just walk away without consequences. That night, I sat alone in the dark, feeling numb. My head was spinning with questions. How long had she been lying? How much money had she taken? Why did she think she could cheat and then just brush it off like it was nothing? I kept thinking about the texts, the receipts, and that damn picture of her with Mark. I was furious, not just at her but at myself for ever trusting her that much. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what yet. All I knew was that my life was falling apart and I was left standing there, trying to piece everything back together. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a sinking feeling that I'd been played for a fool. I kept replaying the moment I found the messages, the picture, everything. I knew I couldn't just let this go. Sarah had crossed a line I didn't think was possible. But what made it worse was realizing she was trying to spin it all in her favor. She started calling me, leaving angry voicemails accusing me of trying to ruin her life, claiming I was the one who'd been unfaithful or that I was just jealous of her success. It was infuriating. I decided I needed concrete proof of her financial betrayal too. I had access to our joint bank account, been managing the bills and savings because she was always busy with work. One night I sat down with my laptop and logged in. That's when I saw it, something I wasn't prepared for. She forged my signature on a transfer of $300, $0 from our joint account to an account that was clearly hers. The transfer was made just a week before I discovered her affair. I couldn't believe it. She'd been stealing from us right under my nose. The betrayal hit me like a punch to the stomach. All those years of trust gone, that kind of money, enough to start over, pay off debts or invest, it was gone and she had taken it without a second thought. I felt sick. I knew I had to act fast. I contacted my lawyer the next day and we started building a case. I wanted her to pay for what she'd done, not just the affair but also the theft. She'd lied, cheated, and now she'd stolen from us. I couldn't let her get away with it. Meanwhile, she kept up the act, denying everything. She said she didn't know what I was talking about, that I was just paranoid, that I was trying to ruin her reputation. She insisted she was the victim, claimed I was trying to control her, that she'd only been with Mark because I'd been neglecting her, that she was so tired of me accusing her of everything. But her words sounded hollow, rehearsed, like she was trying to spin her lies even harder. The worst part was how she turned the tables, accusing me of being the one who was trying to destroy her. She made it seem like I was the villain, the one who'd lost his mind and was trying to sabotage her career. I watched her lie, her bitchy attitude on full display, and I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I was furious, betrayed, and exhausted, but I also knew I had to get to the truth, no matter what. I wasn't going to let her get away with stealing from us, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into believing I was the bad guy. Over the next couple of weeks, everything started to unravel even more. I had my lawyer digging into her financials, and what I found was even worse than I expected. Sarah had been funneling money out of our joint account for months, small amounts at first, then bigger transfers as she got bolder. She'd used fake signatures, forged documents, whatever it took. That $300, $0 wasn't just a one-time thing, it was a pattern. And the worst part, she hidden all of it so well, I had no idea she was draining us dry. Meanwhile, Sarah kept up her act. She was still denying everything, calling me crazy and paranoid, accusing me of trying to ruin her reputation and her career. She'd tell anyone who'd listen that I was just insecure and jealous. She even started claiming I was the one sleeping around, trying to make her look bad. It was so predictable, her bitchy, manipulative side coming out full force. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I knew her game. One night, I decided I'd had enough of her lies. I set up a small hidden camera in the living room just to catch her off guard. I wanted to see what she was really up to when she thought I wasn't watching. What I caught was shocking. She was on the phone with Mark, whispering about how she'd gotten rid of him for now and how she was planning her next move to cover her tracks. She was so bitchy, so calculating. I watched her lie to her friends, spin stories about how I was the crazy one trying to destroy her life. The footage confirmed everything. She was a master manipulator, and I'd been blind to it for so long. I couldn't believe how much she'd lied, cheated, and stolen. I felt a mix of anger, disgust, and sadness. How did I miss all of this? How did I let her get away with so much? I knew I had to act fast. If she was willing to steal that much money and lie that convincingly, I couldn't trust her anymore. My mind was made up. I was going to take her to court, get my money back, and make sure she paid for her betrayal. But even as I planned everything out, a part of me felt broken. I'd trusted her with everything, my heart, my money, my life, and she'd betrayed me so completely. The woman I thought I knew was just a con artist in disguise. I was furious at her, but I was also heartbroken. I kept asking myself how I'd let it get this far. How did I miss all the signs? And more than anything, I wondered how I was going to pick up the pieces and move forward from this. The legal process was brutal, but I knew I had to see it through. I filed for divorce, citing infidelity and financial fraud. The paperwork was straightforward, but the emotional toll was anything but. Sarah, of course, fought back hard. She claimed I was trying to destroy her reputation, that I was the real villain here. She spun stories about how she was just trying to build a better life, and how I was jealous of her success. Her words were as bitchy and manipulative as ever, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I had the evidence, her texts, her forged signatures, the bank transfers, and I was determined to use it all. During the hearings, she sat there, trying to look innocent, but her lies kept unraveling. My lawyer presented the proof of her theft, and her face turned red with anger and frustration. She tried to deny the money was hers, claiming that I was just trying to ruin her. But the evidence was undeniable. The judge ordered her to pay back every cent she stole, plus interest, and she was hit with a fine for forging my signature. Seeing her squirm like that, so bitchy, so desperate, felt like justice. But it didn't fix the pain she'd caused. Still, I knew I couldn't just focus on revenge. I had to rebuild my life. I moved out of the house, changed my number, and started therapy to cope with the betrayal. I also kept a close eye on my finances, making sure she didn't try to sneak back into my life somehow. I cut all ties with her, realizing that trust was gone forever. I had learned a hard lesson about who I could and couldn't trust, and that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. In the end, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that I'd finally taken control and gotten justice, but sadness because I'd lost the woman I thought I knew. I still wonder how she could be so bitchy, so manipulative, and so utterly selfish. I don't regret fighting for what's right, but I do regret trusting her at all. I hope anyone reading this learns that sometimes the people you love can surprise you with their capacity for betrayal. And when they do, it's up to you to stand up, fight back, and make sure they face the consequences. Trust is fragile. Once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. And sometimes the best revenge is just walking away and rebuilding your life from scratch. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole ordeal changed me. I used to be someone who believed in loyalty, honesty, and sticking by the people I loved. But Sarah proved that sometimes the person closest to you can be the biggest liar and thief. I learned that trust needs to be earned and constantly maintained, not taken for granted. And I learned that when someone shows you their true colors, bitchy, manipulative, selfish, you're better off walking away than trying to fix what's fundamentally broken. The hardest part was accepting that I was for so long. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see the lies hiding behind her pretty smile. But I also know now that sometimes you're just too close to see the truth. Clearly, it's only after the shock wears off and you step back that you realize what's real and what's not. Since everything happened, I've been focusing on myself. I've started a new job, moved to a different city, and finally found some peace. I don't trust easily anymore, but I've learned to listen to my gut. I've also become more cautious about who I let into my life. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that not everyone who seems perfect on the surface is worth trusting. To anyone out there going through something similar, whether it's infidelity, betrayal, or financial deception, my advice is this: don't ignore the red flags. Trust your instincts, gather evidence if you need to, and don't be afraid to walk away from someone who shows they're not worth it. Revenge can feel satisfying in the moment, but true healing comes from reclaiming your life and moving forward. This experience has taught me that the worst betrayals often come from those you least expect, and that sometimes the only way to truly win is to let go of the pain, learn from it, and build something better, something rooted in honesty and respect. I say I've completely healed, but I know I'm stronger now. And I know that, no matter how much it hurts, life goes on. You just have to decide whether you're going to let someone else's betrayal define you, or use it as a stepping stone to something better.